Alright guys, Tyler and Jacob here again. Today we are doing the installation video for the Bronco 7000 series skid plates. Is that about it?
Yeah.
Intro. Alright, so the way that we do this to retain the gas tank up in its spot, we don't have to drop it. What we do is we'll take a couple of bolts out of the front of the gas tank skid and loosen up the rest and slide a ratchet strap underneath the tank. And if you get it about halfway, then you can strap it up to the top of the body or wherever you need to go. It also helps if the tank is closer to empty. So we'll loosen up all the factory bolts. This one's already gone, so that works from the old skids. We'll just loosen them up and slide it in here and then strap it up and drop it off.
All right, this one I'll just loosen.
Perfect.
This one, we can take this one out. Let me get an extension for the other one. This is their stupid bracket. This piece of garbage. Oh, I need a long extension for that one. Here.
So let's take this other direction.
Yeah, I think that's good. And then
Over here.
this one could probably, just needs to come below this hump, I think, ideally. There we go. Maybe till over here. I think that'll work.
That's it. All right, now with the tank secured, we can take out our bolts nice and slow and lower this skid down. Take the skid out. We will leave the trans jack. I like the trans jack to be there until we can actually get our brackets in place. It's pretty empty.
I can come down slow. I can see what happens.
Come down slow. See what it's okay.
I think it's okay.
Ready? Let's just take this off and leave that up there. Oh, mama! This is why we take it off. All right, so now with your factory gas tank skid out of the way, we can actually go to start installing our parts. First two is going to be our cross member that goes side to side, and then the rear gas tank strap.
All right, so for the back here, we'll put this fuel tank strap up. This is mounted for our skids and holds your fuel tank up. That way, if you take the skids off again, you don't have to take the fuel tank or hold it up. This is going to use two factory bolts, one way up there into that cross member. So this will just come right up here. We'll just drop that one. This will go into this factory spot up here. And then the other side into this factory spot right here.
The actual cross member that goes here, we have to do a little bit of modifications. These skids on the front of the Raptor muffler, are they on the rest of the Broncos? Just the Raptor. So if you have a Bronco Raptor, you're gonna have to cut these off in order to put our cross member up. Once the cross member's up, it'll bolt here and here, and then you have to mark and drill a hole here with a nut stick in the frame. So we'll cut this real quick. Safety first. All right, so continuing on with a couple of things you have to do to the Bronco platform before installing all the skids. One, you gotta take the front bumper skid off. This being a Bronco Raptor, it came with the steel lower skid, but you'll also notice something different. On the Bronco Raptor, it comes with this little piece right here that drops down off of this cross member. For our skids to go on, we have to remove this. If it's a non-Bronco Raptor, you won't have this, just the Bronco Raptors. So we're gonna show how to cut it off and show why we need to with the front skid. And then after you cut it off and everything, when you go to reinstall your front lower skid in a Bronco Raptor, we will provide a spacer in here. There is a threaded hole above this threaded hole, so that's like they added material for some reason. So this will already be a factory bolt hole. We'll just cut this off, it's already threaded, don't have to worry about it. So we'll go to cut. All right, so before the cross member goes up, this is going to be the best time to install these two nut sticks. So you'll see here they are different. One side has welded nuts and the other are actual squeeze nuts. So what we're going to do here is we're going to install it and slide it underneath the middle part of the cross member. This one does the same thing. So this will be the back side of the cross member facing the back. This will be the front. Gas tank side, T-case side. This is where the exhaust goes, just so everybody can see it. You can actually get one of the factory nuts on an factory bolts on an extension like this, It'll go up through the hole in the bottom right there and stick up through. It's a little easier with 2 people because we're gonna have to push up on the gas tank. With my handy cameraman, push up on the gas tank. There. Then you can start this bolt enough to hold itself up. So, install another bolt on this side. This is real important that you have both of these installed, and we're gonna tighten them both down because we do have to mark and drill this hole. So, I'll tighten these down really quick and we'll mark and drill that hole. All right, so with the gas tank, the cross member actually tightened down. Now we know right where we need to drill this hole. We have a good 1/2 inch center punch. We're gonna put it right in the middle. We're gonna center punch it. Now that I can see, right there. There's your center punch.
So, to start off the install here on your fuel tank skid, we've got 2 of these little nut sticks. You'll notice they bend in different directions. So this is going to be the rear, this is going to be the front. You'll see they only fit in there one way. But I'm going to go ahead and insert them through this hole right here in the cross member. I like to start with the back one first. It goes down on this slant, and then you can stick the front one in next to it. You'll want to have these in here before you start lifting stuff up. That way you've got your bolts.
All right. So you can do this just by lifting, but these trans jacks do come in handy. So we're going to utilize them that way. Speed up jack.
Pause for a second. You might need to go down a little bit, just a touch, right there, because we gotta get this. So, I keep going. Gotta get over the rack arm. We're probably close.
That looks better. One more pump.
Yeah, that'll work. To start.
All right, so once you actually have the skid up into place, you'll notice I'm gonna point out which side everything should be on. So the gas tank skid piece here should be behind your cross member bracket here. On the back side, obviously it can only go into one spot there. And back here, there's another one. And then there's a couple of bolts that go up into the frame here. So the biggest difference here between Bronco Raptor and the regular Bronco is going to be this lower link mount right here. So the Bronco Raptor, with its upgraded suspension and everything like that, has a larger, weirder shaped lower control arm mount compared to the other Bronco series. In the assembly video, you did see that there's an extra piece that goes here that bolts to this piece if you have a regular Bronco compared to the Bronco Raptor, but Bronco Raptor just gets this. So now we will go over what bolts go where.
So I like to start with this outside one, which is just going to be a factory bolt. So you'll want to save all your factory bolts when you pull stuff apart, but it'll just pop right up here into...
A little bit of wiggle is never a bad thing.
So factory bolt up into the factory threads up here. There.
Towards the end of the actual install, you will see that there's a bolt hole here that goes nowhere. So we will be, once everything is down tight, bolted down, we'll drill this hole and we do a nut stick that'll bolt one of our bolts right to it. And then here, obviously you can see these look like little keys. That's for the actual carriage bolts to drop into. So you'll get the 3/8 by 1, it looks like, bolts to go through these back carriage positions. And sometimes there is a little bit of, there we go. Now it's in place. So I'll put our carriage bolt here, another carriage bolt back here, and then another one back here. And then this tank, the skid is actually supported by all the bracketry now, and then we'll go into our countersinks.
I like to leave these just started so you don't have to worry about that after the fact. You can just slide these in. There we go. There's one. These actually are pretty good. I did it again. This one's loose. Oh.
There we go. Sometimes just with proper alignment, you will just, if you got this kind of stuff laying around the shop, it's really good. If not, a jack on the floor will help. But just getting all these things lined up is step one. And once you get all the bolts in, then you'll know you're good. And this last bolt here, the last carriage bolt, goes into the back of the strap here, and then we'll move forward. We will advise, Bronco Raptors are kind of a pain in the butt to rack and also do this skid system. We chose the bottom of the link mounts. Make sure it's really in place and they don't move, and then you'll be good to go.
All right, so last 3 bolts here are going to be these 3 into the cross member. They're going to be our 3/8 countersunk bolts. They'll go into this nut stick, so you've got a little tab here, you can hold it. You can move it around, tell it's where you want it. Your bolt started. And throughout this install, when we put these bolts in, we want to leave them all loose until the very end. It'll make installing the rest of the skid system much easier. So right now, we've got all three of our carriage bolts and our factory bolt here all in and loose, so the skid is held up now. So moving on to the front fuel tank and transfer case skid here. First thing we're going to want to start with is this guy. This is going to be like our center tie-in for our skids. It'll sit right here. So you'll notice there's this slot right here and then this riv nut. So this is going to be your 3/8 button head with your washer. You want to come around the back here, Tyler. It'll install through this hole right here.
There's a hole.
So you can line this guy up, put this guy through. I like to just stick it out so you can see it, and then start this. And right now what I would suggest is to get this basically hand tight so that it's not going to rotate, but you've still got a little bit of wiggle room there. So snug, but not falling down.
Because once everything is actually bolted, we can tighten it from the backside right there.
Exactly.
So this is going to be the front gas tank, and you can tell because it's got the buttons on it here for the gas tank for the plastic itself. Obviously it has been assembled, just like yours should be before you put it up in there. But we are going to go through the steps on how it's going to attach. Obviously you see these 3 holes with that nut stick. Those are going to be attached. You got factory frame bolt mounting here and here, and then factory cross member mounting here and here. So let's put it up there.
So before we lift this guy up, we'll put this nut stick in for this frontmost tie-in point. There's this really big oval hole right here with bent over edges. It's going to go in there. You just pop it right in and it'll slide in. Eventually you're going to be aiming for this slot right here. You can see that, so we'll just let that sit for now. Up we go. So we can start with this guy. This side, so fuel tank side, is going to be the M12 countersunk bolt. M12 on the fuel tank side, because the other side's an M10.
Of course.
So start with M12 here. We'll get this just started. Leave it nice and loose. And then we can go ahead and do our 2 ones on the side over here.
Also M12 175?
M12 175. So this one right here is going to go into factory threads. Here not. And then one into our nut stick here. Oh, it almost went. There it goes. Okay. So we've got those started. We'll also need 1 hex for that side bolt there. Kind of convenient. It's all the way up. That's okay.
Well, I'm not the shortest person, so it's...
Okay. Now the next order of business, take 3 of our 1/4 inch bolts here that are going to go up into this guy. So, since everything's still nice and loose, should be able to get these to line up. And again, just thread them in so they start, but leave them loose.
And it's just these back 3, I think.
Yes.
And it'll be the same kind of deal as the gas tank itself. We'll just add these 3 to those captured nuts inside there. This takes precision marksmanship. Cute, Clark. All right, get rid of the jack. Don't get rid of the jack. It helps, but that is the front gas tank skid loosely installed. And like Jacob said, we do not want to tighten anything down just yet. As you can see, we like a little bit of wiggle room, and everything can be tightened down after the fact. So we'll move on to the TK skid.
So on this side, we'll start with our nut stick again. Same hole. It's kind of behind some fuel lines here. I find it easy to put it upside down and then twist it.
Is fuel or brake?
I think it's fuel.
Those are little. I think
Maybe they're brake.
either way.
They're lines.
So anyways, that nut stick's gonna go in there and it's gonna line up again to this hole, just like that. Now, let's put this TK skid up. All right, so a lot of these holes on the Bronco are a very tough spot to get to. So what we're gonna do is send you 1 or 2 of these adjustable nut sticks. I love these things, I use them for everything here. But what they're for is to get into these weird spots, and you can actually bend this and twist it and break it off however long it needs to be. So what we'll do here, because this cross member is pretty tough, I'm just gonna start kind of bending it to get it into where I need it, like that there. So you can actually see the nut stick is in its hole now. And ultimately, what we can do is when you have that nut stick where you need it, just pick the best spot right there. And with 2 of these or a grinder, whichever you want to do, there you go. So after further analysis, if you just make the nut fit perfectly in there and you bend this up, then it does not go anywhere. Can't lose it. TK skid going up. All right, so like Jacob said before, M10 on the TK side. We'll go into this M10 hole right there. Obviously an M12 will not fit in that hole, but M10 countersink will fit in this hole. Then a couple of these guys. One to go here, I'm sure. Or is it? Yep, that's where my nut stick is. This is why we leave everything loose, so you can move everything around. All right, instead of me doing this, I'm gonna let Jacob do it.
All right, so over here, this hole will not be on production versions. That won't be there at all.
Disregard.
And it will also be bigger, so you can actually fit your hands in it. But that one started.
And we just got one more up here into the nut stick that we were talking about. Precision and accuracy.
Okay.
Nice and loose. What's
do
next?
Our quarter
20s
next here.
So as you can see, that bracket has more quarter 20s, this interior bracket to bolt this skid up to. So I will assist Jacob and hold it up for him. Frickin' gremlin over here. You're a gremlin.
Why? Because I'm not 7 feet tall like you?
This is my height view.
So for these back three, see over here, we've got a couple of nut sticks that were installed when we put the crossmember up. So we're gonna find, it's gonna be this outside one is gonna control the back. So it's gonna be very similar to our nut sticks on this side. We'll just hold this, line these guys up, and then install our bolts, just like that.
And back to the beginning of the video, this is why you have to cut off that Bronco Raptor muffler grill guard, I guess you'd call it. I don't call it a skid. It looks like a muzzle. It's a muffler muzzle. All right, I think the TK skid is installed.
Indeed.
Now what? The Manta Ray. So this is the Manta Ray skid assembled. So you can kind of see how we had to get around those cross members where the flat belly is not going to have these because the frame mounts are going to be up here, and you'll gain quite a bit of clearance if you do the flat belly itself. So that's different. All right, Jacob, what's the first step before we put the Manta Ray system up?
So first step's gonna be loosening the rear sway bar nut right here. So we don't need to take it all the way off. We'll just loosen it because we're gonna slide a bracket up here and then also bolt in here. This is a factory hole that most Broncos have. If you don't, we provide you two of these. This basically will bolt up above your sway bar, in between your sway bar and the frame. So in that case, you'll want to take both sway bar bolts out, insert this on top of the sway bar, and reinstall them, and it'll give you that new rear mounting hole.
Essentially, we do what Ford didn't do on all the options. So you will get two of those, one for either side, unless you have this option for this sway bar. This is their hydraulically controlled one, which is pretty sweet, but yes. First step, loosen these guys, like that. So this is the part that we're actually going to slide over the sway bar bolt and nut, and then this is going to be the extra one that goes through this back hole here. It's on both sides, just like that. So what we'll do is we'll go up and then just line it up with these bolts, slide it into place, and put some more bolts in. Is there a nut stick that needs to go in?
There is a nut stick. So also get one of these guys with two nuts in it. This is going to go in your factory transmission crossmember. So there's this big oval hole right here. You can just pop this up in here, and then it will just hold itself in with little tabs, and then that'll be there for you to tie in to these bolts from the bottom on the Manta Ray skid.
All right, so prior to putting up your Manta Ray, you are going to have to tighten down this M12 and then this M10 because the Manta Ray is going to cover them up. But we're good with bolting those up because everything else is it's in its hole, it's bolted, and it's loose. So if we tighten one bolt, then that's not going to mess with us too much. So before the Manta Ray goes up, bolt this M12 and bolt this M10 down.
Ow.
Manta Ray is ready to go up. Today, Junior. All right, so this part helps to have, we need to come this way quite a bit. There we go.
I got mine as well. I'm gonna go up with the jack to hold it there.
Once you actually get your Manta Ray up into place, you can see that bolt and nut slide in there, and we'll add some here. It's a tight spot, but with a ratchet wrench, you'll be good to go. And then we're gonna tighten down those. Don't forget those two carriage bolts when we go to the tightening down sequence. But for now, I think we can add these to the back of the skid. So up through here, you can see that nut stick. So it's hard to record, look, and do it, but it's pretty well lined up. So you can't really see in between the skids, but money. This is just to help also hold the whole skid up so you're not relying on those 2 slide bolts. So after that, are these M10s, Jacob?
They are factory M10s.
So they were in there. No, they were. So the factory skid had these holding it into those 2 extra bolts. And I think that's the Bronco Raptor deal. Or if you came with factory skids, that may be the option. But we're going to take these factory M10s, get up in here and contortion a little bit and get that guy in there like that. And that's it.
Now we're going to go ahead and take our aluminum spacer here. We'll drop this down just a bit. And again, we want to make sure they've got this in the right orientation, because you can flip it and it will not fit. So make sure all of our bolts line up, button heads facing up. We'll just slide this guy in here, and then that's where it'll live.
All right, so now before tightening anything down, like we said, you want to install these 2 M10s right here, and they're going to go through the aluminum and that spacer that we just put in and tighten down like that on both sides. That just ensures that this isn't going to slide off anywhere before we start tightening it. So Manta Ray is softly installed. Now for the front skid. All right, so front engine skid and diff skid and all this kind of skid is here. One question I do get asked a lot is, what do you have to do to remove or to drain the oil? The factory skid on the Ford you have to take off, so we just did the same thing because we didn't want to jeopardize any structure here to protect that front IFS diff and sway bar and all the steering rack and all of that. So when you assemble, when you put this up, those are the bolts that you're going to need to take back out to take this off.
We've got our M10 countersink bolts, 3 of them. They're going to go in the back of the skid. And then we've got our 3 M10 factory bolts for the front bolts here. So this bolt on this kind of short hanging down thing, we can put in here. And what we'll do is we'll put it in and we'll leave it loose because the factory front skid will just slot into it. This bolt we can put in all the way because it's not shared at all. And then this bolt is going to depend. You're probably going to want to leave this bolt out for right now. On the Bronco Raptor, anything you have to cut this piece off on,
like we did in the beginning of the video,
you're going to need a provided spacer. Otherwise, it'll just bolt right up. And your spacer may look different than this spacer, but it will serve the same purpose.
Prototype. All right, so once this skid goes up into place, we're going to start with these 3 M10 countersinks back here. So as you see, it all mates up very nicely. And now it may be a little finicky because you're going through multiple pieces of material, but it looks like Jacob nailed it first shot on that one. And then, of course, it's not an install.
My typical
unless
install
we're throwing
fashion.
bolts. Luckily it's bolts and I don't throw this camera.
That's true.
That's a better idea. All right, so with those 3 installed, we can move up to the front like we were just talking about. So this one we'll install, but we'll leave a gap. This one we can put in and actually tighten down when we go to the tightening sequence. This one we're gonna leave out because that one, when we get it all sucked up, that spacer's gonna go there, and then the Raptor skid plate, factory skid plate will slide in and you'll put 1 bolt through the whole thing. So, yes.
That's everything installed.
All right, so when you have the front skid on, loosely bolted, now it's time to tighten everything down. We will say, start right here in the middle where the factory cross member is. Starting there just because that is a factory part. It is solidly mounted. There's no wiggle room, there's no nothing. So we're gonna start tightening down here and move forward on the Manta Ray to the front engine skid. Once that's all tightened down, then we'll come back and we'll finish the side rails of the TK skid and the front gas tank and rear gas tank. Tighten all that stuff down, and there's just a couple more things after all this is tightened down. All right, well, while Jacob's tightening these down, we're gonna talk about the sway bar mounts. So we're gonna tighten down these M10s because they'll just pull the skid all the way up, and then we can get in there and we don't have to worry about the sway bar mount moving. So, as you can see, you got a little bit of space here. This is gonna be an 18, and ratchet wrenches work really good for these ones. And then I'm pretty sure the M10 is a 16, 15. So these 2 are gonna be no problem. We do recommend, because after those are tight, you need to tighten those 2 9/16 carriage bolt nuts right there. And the way that is gonna work the best for you is a universal 9/16 on an extension and just tighten them down. That's gonna be the best way to do it. We'll keep going. All right, so now that the skids are bolted down in place, everything is tight, now we can go on to the last couple of steps. As you can see, there is a couple more holes here, and there's a free nut stick. We'll explain that in a second. But there's also this crossmember bolt. We need to tighten that down before this piece can be installed. And don't forget about your button head bolt on the inside here.
All right, so now that all three of our crossmember bolts are tight and everything else is tight, we can put on the last two pieces here. So we got this kind of bent piece. This is gonna cap off this corner, just like this. So we're gonna use our two button heads to thread into our rib nuts right here. Let's get these started. And then our final 3/8 carriage bolt we'll install from the back here.
Ranger Raptor's a little, or Bronco Raptor's a little funner because of that muffler and short work.
And we're gonna leave those loose for a minute because we wanna put this guy on first.
This guy.
So we got a piece of UHMW, piece of aluminum, and as you can see, it's gonna fit right up in there.
Oh, how'd you cover that hole? That's weird. Nice.
So, grab some
I will
hardware.
hold. Wow, you get hardware.
Our final 3/8 countersink bolts here. This is gonna thread into our last nut stick up here. I'll start over here. There we go. And then finally, our 1/4 into a rib nut. Now, my recommendation would be start by tightening this guy. So we'll tighten this with a wrench, unfortunately.
Cause Raptor.
Tighten our button heads. These don't need to be very tight. Now that those are tight, we can go ahead and do all these guys. All right, so over here I've got the wrong piece of UHMW. We can go ahead and install these side pieces of UHMW. Like that.
All right, so before we actually install the UHMW and the close-off door here, we do need to drill this hole. 1/2-inch hole right through here, then a nut stick and a bolt, and we're done. Got it. So when that hole is drilled, you'll get this little nut stick here. Go shoop. Oh, there's factory butter in the frame. Gross. Explain yourself, Ford. KY jelly does not last long. Tighten her down. Now, we can put the UHMW on.
All right, so now we'll come on over to the passenger side and get these guys installed. Just like that. All right, so the last step is gonna be our little door here to cover our nut sticks. So we've got 3 pieces that are part of it. This is basically just a spacer. Go right on top of the threaded one, and then your door will go on top of that. What we're gonna start out with is loosely threading 2 of our bolts into the center 2 holes here.
God, how funny would it have been if you had another one.
I checked. So we'll get these most of the way threaded in, but we do still want some movement here. That'll just make it a lot easier to install. Now we're gonna go get some bolts and put it on the car. So, as you can see, we've got some cutouts here that this steel piece is gonna fit through. So what we're gonna do is push in on these bolts, pop this guy in, and then once it slips in, it'll slip down, and now it's just kind of contained there. So now we can line up our holes here with the holes in the skids, get these bolts started, and tighten them all up.
All right, so the belly skids are installed. So the last part of it is to put the front factory skid back on if you have one. Like we said, again, this is a Bronco Raptor, so it had 2 flat pot here, but for the rest of the Broncos, we just made it universal. So with this one, we'll need this little spacer guy to go here, and the supplied 55mm 10mm bolt, and then all the other factory hardware. So I'm just gonna leave this out for now, and I'm gonna slide that one into place, and then
It's kind of a stupid design. You have to put the top bit in first and then slide the back bit in. I might have actually had to take that bolt out.
we might just take that bolt out, because that is pretty, nope, it'll go.
There we go.
All right, then put your factory bolts back here, factory bolt back here. Have this mystery arm show up whenever you need it.
I just came here to ask if you guys wanted lunch.
Sure. And then, while there's a little bit of space here, we're gonna install this spacer, bolt through into the factory spot, tighten her all down, and she's back together.